Returning from a party at the girls' building, Matthew steps into the elevator. He is joined by a girl with a pile of stuff behind which she can barely be seen. The guy pays no attention to her, but at some point the lights go out and the elevator stops. Passion overwhelms them, and that night they spend together. He even forgets to ask her name. In the morning, when the lights come on, Matthew wakes up alone. Only the girl's snow-white panties remain lying next to him. Returning to his room, he told his best friend about what had happened. He does not share his neighbor's enthusiasm and considers his infatuation far-fetched. Matthew is ready to do anything to find the girl he fell in love with. This is his first experience, because before that, he was a modest and shy boy, unable to seriously interest a girl. Roth does not believe in his friend and is convinced that for the rest of his days, he will only have to dream about the mysterious stranger from the elevator. Not wanting to remain a tubby man, Matthew decides to find a bra to complete his underwear set. It's not easy to get into the girls' building, so the guy goes for a gamble and tosses a briefcase full of mice through the window. The girls are frightened by the rodents and are not surprised by the appearance of a worker from the sanitary service. Having received a pass to the dormitory, Matthew begins his search for a matching bra. It turns out that getting into the girls' rooms is much easier than it seemed at first glance. Discovering new finds, he carefully checks the girls' underwear, but never finds a complement to the lost panties. Walking down the dorm hallway, Matthew notices a door ajar in one of the rooms. There he sees a persistent and opinionated guy named Crick harassing a girl, ignoring her refusals. In an attempt to protect her, Matthew bursts into the room and roughs up the jock in hopes that he will leave the girl alone. Calling fire on himself, he decides to go on the attack and grabs Crick by the nipples. Groaning in pain, the brazen man finds his strength and grabs Matthew's nipples. In this unequal fight, you can't let up. But at some point, the freshman gives in. Left impressed, Patty helps Matthew through the pain and applies a cold jar to his swollen nipples. A fleeting passion brings the pair closer together, but the girl realizes that the shy guy won't want to pay attention to her, since many people consider her easily accessible and vicious. Noticing the steel balls on the table, Matthew thought that the girl uses them to calm her nerves. As it turned out, she puts them inside herself to get pleasure and not to think about guys. Alarmed by such a frank confession, the guy ran away, leaving the girl Patty alone. Infiltrating the girls' citadel daily, Matthew becomes a skillful liar, sneaking into the girls' rooms. Exploring one room after another, he tries to find matching underwear, but all his attempts are unsuccessful. One day, Matthew spots Cynthia, the epitome of femininity and the limit of his dreams, and a shining example of female power over men. Meeting her eyes, he realized that it was impossible to look at the girl's breasts. Otherwise, she would feel control over him. Resisting for a long time, he still cast his gaze upon her golden spheres, buds looking straight into his eyes, and submitted to her beauty. Matthew spends more and more time at the girls' dormitory. On one such day, he meets Arlene, a girl without makeup, who offers to play a game of strip foosball. Agreeing to the duel, Matt misses one goal after another and is quickly stripped of his clothes. Left in just his underwear, he decides not to give up and loses. The girls, curiously watching what is happening, take off the guy's underwear and were pleasantly surprised. Fortunately, Matthew had set the thermostat on hot, which ensured that his buddy didn't pull his head into a shell like a turtle, and it hung proudly like an anaconda in ambush. Back in the room, he tells his friend Rod about his exploits and successes. This doesn't bother him as he spends all his time locked up trying to increase the size of his own instrument with the help of hanging balls. Watching the girls from the window, he easily tells about each of them, their hobbies and lifestyle. At the same time, there is one unknown girl who never leaves the room. He has already tried reconnoitering and eavesdropping outside the door, but has never been successful. Saturday night is a special time when the girls go home or go out on a date. During this time, Matthew manages to look around the empty rooms and check the underwear looking for the right bra. The only one who never leaves the women's quarters is a girl named Dora. From morning until evening, she disappears to the library. She can't be called beautiful, and even Matthew shuns the girl, afraid of contracting bad luck. Trying to get to know the opposite gender better, the boys enroll in a women's course. It turns out to be led by the insufferable Ems Stern, who resembles a German officer during World War II. Not only is she a feminist, but she's also a man. Hater who's convinced that none of the guys will pass her exam successfully. One Saturday, Matthew let his guard down while looking around another room. He wanted to use the bathroom when suddenly her landlady returned. Hiding in the bathroom, the guy tried to lower the stool, hiding the traces of his presence. But it was too late. Wendy declassified him and splashed Matt in the eye. Soon she apologized for her act, because she recognized in him a classmate with whom she sat at the same desk. Having learned the touching story of love adventures in the elevator, she decided to help an old friend. A few weeks later, Matthew finds a matching bra and looks forward to meeting the girl. It turned out to be a coincidence, and all his hopes came crashing down in an instant. Not letting up, he began writing advertisements in the newspaper that he would wait for the mysterious stranger in the basement every Thursday evening. Days and weeks went by, but no one ever came. Wendy, like a true friend, supports Matthew in every way possible. And at one point, he even tries to try on a glass to her breast, but realizes that she's not the mysterious girl he's trying to find. Coming up with an ingenious plan, Matthew turns into Francesco, reincarnating himself as the girl. He hopes to have a more open conversation with the students, but the idea fails miserably. Then the guy decides to get close to all of them so that his heart will tell him which one of them is the mysterious stranger. Using the image of Francesca, he overcomes his fear and gets close even to Cynthia, but realizes that she is not as beautiful as she seems at first glance. A few days later, Arlene offers to play table soccer again. Using the chance for revenge, Matthew turns the match into a verbal altercation, during which he spurs and distracts the girl, scoring one goal after another. He forces her to undress, and soon the game stops. In the evening, Matthew goes to the library and notices that Dora is missing. Noticing the girl on the roof of the dormitory, he rushes to her aid. Removing the protective barrier, the guy opened up to her and asked her to shed her complexes about her appearance. Soon, Matt and Dora shoot an erotic video in which the guy describes the beauty of the girl and the smooth curves and lines of the body, which can seduce dozens of men. Having met Patty, Matthew is afraid to approach her. The girl calms the guy, because she realizes that he is looking for the girl of his dreams, and she is far from ideal. Their conversation is interrupted by Crick, who decides to assert himself at the expense of a weak student. Realizing that he can't win a fair fight, Matt staples Crick's hair to the floor and runs away. After cutting off some of his hair, an angry Crick tries to find the student and is given away by a ball that fell out of Patty. After a moment more, he attacks the defenseless couple. But at that moment, a second ball falls out of the girl's hand and Crick slips on it, hitting his head hard on the floor. Overjoyed at their fleeting victory over the bully, Matthew and Patty retreat to their room. A couple more weeks pass, and Black Thursday in the basement is a success. A stranger opens the door, but instead of coming down to see Matthew, she asks him to forget about her. Running after her, he tries to catch the girl, but only scares the grandmother who entered the elevator. Having suffered another defeat, the guy closes in himself, but Wendy manages to entertain him a little by organizing a pillow fight. In the last week of school, Matt decides to stop the war of the genders and wants to play table soccer with Arlene, uniting into one team. Their male strength and female ingenuity make them the perfect pair, beating Crick and his friend with ease. With their underpants off, the guys embarrassed themselves and became a laughingstock in front of the girl. While some girls lost their complexes, Cynthia, who fell off her bike, gained them. Having lost her beauty, she was no longer interesting to the guys who were ready to do anything for her attention. Matthew changed into Francesca and tried to talk to Patty. Their dialogue was interrupted by Crick trying to seduce a girl he didn't know. Not wanting to become a woman, Matt bit off part of the bully's tongue. Not arriving home in time, Matt caught Rod rubbing his buddy in a video with Dora. Turns out he hates girls and looks for a catch in everything, not because of a bad experience, but because of the unusual shape of his instrument. Trying to get rid of the complex, he strapped on dumbbells but still couldn't open up to any of the girls. In an attempt to help his friend, Matthew set Rod up with Dora by cutting off the power the moment the couple was in the elevator. On the last school day, Matthew decides to take a desperate step and stands in front of the windows of the girls' dormitory and confesses his love to a stranger. The girls, penetrated by the touching speech of the guy, are ready to become his lover. Noticing that one window hasn't opened, Matthew runs there, and it turns out that Patty lives there. She is the stranger from the elevator in whom the guy is so in love. But the girl does not want to open the door because Matt does not look at her with loving eyes, but considers her an available girl for love for one night. By successfully passing his last exam, finally chasing Crick out of the girls' dormitory and introducing Wendy to Arlene, Matt has done a lot of good. Everyone is happy, and he's the only one still lonely. Taking one last chance and succumbing to the romance of the nightlights, Matthew runs to Patty's room. Left alone, he looks at her in a new way, as if she were the Christmas present he's longed for. Pulling the rope, he takes off her dress like a package from his favorite toy and finds the long-awaited happiness. And that's where the movie ends. That's all for today. What do you think of this movie? Write your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more such videos.